Imagine life's challenges as a storm, a force that can either wash us away or spark the change we need. Here, we're the spark that ignites that storm, the fire that fuels it, and the guiding light through it. So, lean in, open your mind, and we'll realize that we are not at the mercy of the storm, but we are the storm.
You've been told healing comes from something outside of you, a prescription, a quick fix, someone else's permission. But the truth, everything you need is already inside of you. Your breath, your body, your ability to reconnect, repair, and rise. At Reconnect Mind Body, we don't add anything to you. We help you tap into what's already there. Breathwork, cold exposure, compression, sauna, light therapy. Start unlocking the power within you at thereconnectlife.com.
Welcome back to We Are the Storm. We are having a part 2 with Jerame that we are so excited. This episode is about cause, being the cause. I am Ashley. I'm here with my co-host Jacque, and we're back with Jerame. We're so excited to continue this conversation and dive in even more.
Yeah, welcome. I am really intrigued by the word cause, right? Because that's part of your slogan at Reconnect, right? I mean, I've been in there and I've seen it on a few shirts. And tell us more about what it is.
It's on the wall.
It's on the wall.
It's on the wall.
It's on the wall. Yeah.
Yeah, you were the cause, you were the cure. It came through in my second ice bath by myself. It was a moment when I realized that all my anxiety, all my living in fear, all that tucking down and hiding all emotions, all those things, I was at fault for those, because it's up to me how I handle those emotions, right? It's not my fault what happened to me to cause me to have the reactions that I did, but it says to me what happens next.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, once I acknowledged that it was up to me, then I said, well, I'm the cure then. So I have to be the one to create this shift inside of myself and take ownership of these things, which is how I heal it all.
Yeah.
So all the anxiety that was buried in my gut, my choice to put it there, right? Even though I learned these conditioned states, and then once I took that, I'm not even kidding, it was like an explosion of confetti in my body. When that motto came through in that ice bath, I literally just said it to myself, I am the cause, I am the cure. And I just took this huge breath, and it was like, and like my whole body felt free because I took absolute ownership of all of it, realizing that I'm like, hey, it's up to me. It's up to me what happens next, you know?
That's so powerful.
The healing too. I wanted to touch on this topic earlier because that's another incredible part that I've found. I had a lot of trauma and things happen when I was a kid, and I've been to therapy. I've tried to work on it. I've done different things. There are parts of it that I realized was stored in my body that didn't come out until I worked out and pushed that limit. And also, there's an aspect of healing that I think only happens in that fight or flight when you feel safe. And there was just this massive component in my first, second, third, fourth cold plunge that when I'm sitting in that tub, and I think Melissa was my first. I don't remember who helped me on the second one, but Melissa was just holding on to me, telling me that you're okay. And to hear I'm okay in the moment of panic, I sat in the tub, and like the confetti explosion that you talked about, for me, I was a little girl waiting for my mom to save me. And I realized in the fight or flight, on the emotional side, that I can save myself. Logically, you realize that a long time ago, right? You're the oldest of everyone. You do all the things. You get the good grades. You accomplish the things on a logical level. But there's an emotional aspect of you that's still like, help me, right? As a kid, because that's all you need. You need that help. And I was sitting in the tub, and it was like all of the ropes and everything that anyone told me that I was came off. And I was like, I can save you. I got this on the emotional level in that fight or flight response. And that healed everything for me. I went from feeling like I was broken and defective wanting to be whole before the cold plunge, to realizing, no, I'm more than whole. I am abundant. I am limitless. I am powerful. I am all these things, so much so that I feel expansive. Mm-hmm. I no longer recognize things where I felt broken before. It's not a part of me. I don't feel it in my body anymore. And that healing aspect is so beautiful. And I truly believe that it can only be done in that arena, right? That place where you are safe and you are in that fight or flight, and the plants and the music and the people who help guide you, it's just such a beautiful thing. I'm sure that you see a ton of transformational stories every single day, and it probably just reinforces all the good that you're doing.
It's really impactful.
It is.
When you go,
Thank you.
And I love so much about you are the cause, you are the cure. I mean, it is a really, it's a dagger to the heart of the reasons, to the excuses,
Yes.
to the continuance, to the relinquishment of our power, to the relinquishment of our ownership, and ultimately our agency, right? And ultimately ourselves. Because, like we talked about, things happen to us. That's inevitable. That's part of life. We go through these things. And I think that's at the core of resilience, is understanding how these pieces really play together and where we fit in. And when we take you are the cause, you are the cure, and we put that right at the foundation of resilience. Okay. All right. So if I am the cause, just take that first half. Things are coming in, but what I do with them from this point forward, how I pick them up and use them, reframe, reappraise, turn them from weapons used against me to weapons that I used against the world, right? And that sounds negative. But sometimes we do have to have tools and sharp ones sometimes to be able to move forward. So cause meaning like that, like things happen, and, we often take some part in ownership in perpetuating the effects that keep affecting our lives, and left unchecked, they can have psychological effects, physical implications, obviously. But then we are the cause as far as another meaning, which means you're a good reason to do the work. You're the cause. You're the cause that, put your name on a 5K and run the race, because you are the cause. You're worthy of doing the work. What is that? How does that resound for you, and what, your role?
Well,
What you've seen.
I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy here witnessing a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's just something really to get behind, that it's all about how we perceive the information, and both of those angles still come down to just taking back control of your well-being, right? Because it's all how we see it. Everything is how we see it. If I put a 6 in front of me, you see a 9.
That's right.
Right? So we have to put those things into factor and realizing that we're supposed to grow. You should be a different person now than you were last year. Don't mean different as in like entirely new human being, but there should be growth.
I am.
Right?
Yeah, you have to evolve.
Yeah, you have to evolve.
Yeah.
And everything you just described is all about someone seeing their self in a new light, right?
Yeah.
So seeing that I'm worthy of taking care of myself. I'm worthy of taking these next steps because your life is worth living.
Yeah.
And one of my quotes, which just goes so well with all this stuff, is the longest path you will walk is the one to the inside. And when we do that, and the reason that is because of every single wall we've ever built up with, right? So who's going to build those walls and who's going to take them down? It's you. Sometimes we don't feel safe enough to take them down, so we built them up for protection.
Yeah.
But when you start to take ownership of your well-being, you start to open the door to something new. And this is where we allow ourselves to start bringing those walls down brick by brick.
Yeah.
That, again, it's the same ownership. You're finding that you are the cause of it, right? Like, I'm the one who built those walls up. I didn't have to. I felt the need to for safety. right? Maybe they were there for a purpose and they served their purpose, but maybe the time is done and now you have to move on from that. Find forgiveness in your heart because there's endless amounts of it in there. But when we do that, at the same time, we're recognizing that we're worthy of the cause.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think it does become down to ownership.
Yeah.
There is an absolute element of ownership. And this is, trigger warning, I think, for everybody involved. This is not a comfortable conversation for people to have.
No.
Is recognizing that things happen to us all the time, especially when we're children, when we're adolescents, and we don't have the tools to adequately deal with them. But as we grow into adults and we can exercise agency as we're meant to, it's our duty and our responsibility to gather the tools that can help us ourselves take down those walls, deal with the things that have happened to us. And that's why I think Reconnect is so powerful, is because it is one of the most effective tools in, like you said, getting back to yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And hearing, like, not only creating the pause, like we talk about in Wild Fig, is that's the first stage, is to create the pause, slow down and create the silence, the stillness that's necessary to reconnect. Even though your body's screaming at you, right? It's not necessarily silence internally, but there is that stillness and space that lets you recognize and hear the mindset, the tapes, the assumptions, the assignments, all the things that we have going on. And then really that's where agency comes in. Choosing to pick those things up and flip them around. How can I mold this into something that has been hurtful and hampering me up until this point to useful? That's a tool. That's a responsibility that we have. So every time we come across these conversations, it's important to realize you always have the agency to do nothing, but there's always a cost.
Yeah.
And I have this conversation with clients all the time. You can choose to do nothing. Of course you can. What's the cost of that? There's a price tag there. And if we really think through the transaction about what is this really costing me? What's the advantages of doing the work versus the disadvantages of doing the work? It always comes out where ownership and agency and action wins. And so that's where it's like, that's the water work. That's the pain you choose.
Yeah. I want to go back to something each of you said. I love how you put this happened to you. We had an episode a couple episodes ago, and if you didn't listen to it, go listen to it, the and also. And I think I love how all the things that we talk about tie in together. And the point of this podcast is to give people tools and resources to have those perspective shifts, to have those linchpins. And the and also, I think, is important here, right? This happened to you. That's validation.
Yep.
I see it. I see this happen to you. It's not fair. Life sometimes sucks. The storms are hard. I am validating that this happened to you. And also, you have the choice to figure out what you want to do with this. And also, I see you in your storm, and I am validating that. I think a lot of times people need that, but I didn't do it. When I was growing up, I was a victim of sexual abuse. And I distinctly remember someone telling me, you can't clap with one hand. It took me so long to heal from that. I didn't do it. And so the part of this happened to you, and also here are tools, Ashley, in this cold plunge, in this water, so that you can reclaim it and do something with it and provide services for reach, for tools, for understanding, to give them a platter and say, well, what do you want to do with this? What can you do with this?
Absolutely.
And you're really reclaiming that power. And I wanted to go back also to the You Are the Cause with the 5K and the shirt. I love that because you are worthy and you are important. And as women, we tend to put ourselves last. My 5-year-old, priority, right? Got to get him to school, got to get his food made, got to do all of these things and then work, right? We have to make the money. We have to make sure that we can provide a house and buy groceries and all of these things. Often we put ourselves last. We are so worth that. We are the cause to be able to show up in our family and our thing. And if we invest in ourselves, and I make a point to go to Reconnect often, because I am sharpening my own axe, right? I am able to show up for my son more powerfully, more present, more wholly than before, and show him what resilience looks like because I just did it. And show him the light that I feel inside of my body because I am healing and putting in that work and going to the gym and doing these things. And I show up more at my office and in my job and in my profession and heck, on this podcast, right? Because this would have never happened without that mindset shift of, oh no, I am happening to the world, and I want to help other people find these tools to do that, to put on a shirt with your name on it. Let's go run a 5K.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's really powerful. I love the second half of your statement as well, right?
Yeah.
You're the cure. And so I'm curious to know, we've been talking a lot about the tapes and the things that we carry with us. And then long term, there's real effects to that. Like what are your thoughts there?
Real effects as far as the cause side of things?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, becoming the cure part realistically is the ownership part, but it's actually changing your belief systems. And this is something that I like to always point out because I think it's more relatable, is that we never truly get rid of a belief. We just take power away from it. So we tend to find the opposite of it. So beliefs that keep us bound are beliefs that lift us up.
Yeah.
I can encourage you to do something that I know is going to be challenging, and you immediately go, I don't think I can do that. Or like, oh no, I can't do that. It's just the natural human response of, like that's scary. I've never done that before. So how could I do that? And I see it in you that you can do that. So I'm like, well, let me go ahead and prep you for the next 2 months to get that done. And then at the end of 2 months, I'm like, all right, go ahead and do that thing now. You're most likely going to go, okay. Yeah, I think I can do that. I can give it a shot. So what happened there, though, is that you're not like, oh, I got this. Even if you are, I got this 100%, there's still that part of you going, oh, crap.
It's a borrowed belief, right?
Correct, yeah. So every time we do that, it's like the more that we can recognize that we have to have both sides of the spectrum. Contrast is a part of life. It is something that we need, because if we don't have the opposing side, we'll never know the difference. We'll never know what this good one is, because there'll be no appreciation or gratitude for it.
Yeah.
The cure side is that. The cure side is that side of empowering yourself to take the next steps forward. And it's being able to be optimistic about all the things that you're going through, to realize that your circumstances are not who you are.
Yes.
So when we step into those shoes, we start to aim walking in the direction of our most authentic self.
Yeah.
It's the hardest work to do.
Yes.
But it's the best work. That's why every single thing, it takes zero effort to be negative, to choose the weak side, to stay on your couch, to do all, it takes zero effort. This is how we're born. We're literally born to choose the path of least resistance.
Yes.
So when we end up doing the opposing side of that, to be the cure, to be the answer, to be the hero of your own story, it takes the most amount of work, which is what's fighting for, right? So like you said right there, is that you tend to put your kids first. And this is such a common thing for mothers, is to put the family first and forget about themselves. I've been in this industry for 17 years, and I would say that is the most common thing.
Yes.
Absolutely. And the biggest problem with that is that they can only be as good as you are, right? So if your health is suffering and your mindset is shattering, they will do as you do, not as you say. So if you are demonstrating this behavior of never taking care of myself, they will learn and adopt the exact same behavior and
100%.
say, I don't have to take care of myself. I'll just give everything to everyone else. This is where we talked about last time, is this is where shame and guilt comes in.
Yeah.
Shame and guilt are the two stoppers from us for receiving. You carry that inside your body. It gets trapped in your throat. Your voice is silenced.
Yes.
And now you don't feel worthy of receiving. Become the cure, and you will start to wipe away that shame.
Yeah. And like the long-term effects of shame and guilt have physical implications. I mean, it causes disease. I mean, I know you can speak to that.
Yes, absolutely. That is non-vocalization in any form is typically what's going to give you a sore throat, lead to things like laryngitis, like all this stuff, to where it will literally destroy that, because every single time that we do, and we're talking like all the time, it just takes a repetitive mannerism to make this happen. You store it in your gut, you go from here, you go to here, it becomes sickness first, right? The body will send you these whispers before screams. Oftentimes people don't catch them until they're screams.
Yeah.
So it turns into sickness. I keep getting this. It's like, oh, I'm always sick like this. Next thing you know, you start identifying with this sickness that is just like, oh, well, I was that person. I used to get sick 3 to 4 times every single year in the wintertime. And I just said, oh, it's wintertime, I'm going to get sick at least a couple times. I just need to prepare for it, make sure I'm ready to get things lined up work-wise because I'll have to take work off. Like it was a belief that I had, and I would get sick every time. And for me, I was always used to shutting my voice down. And it, just from all the years of how my life went, it was always Jerame had to keep his voice shut. And so with that being said, I would always get sore throats, right? Constantly. It was like always a sore throat, like swell up all the time. And then I would take all that anxiety of silencing all of my words in every fashion, not even just when it needed to be something good or something bad to say, but I would tuck it down into my gut, bury that anxiety, taking out other people's all that stuff. And then I'd end up with the stomach flu, or I'd end up with terrible diarrhea. And it's like all these digestive issues where my nutrition was perfect. We're talking like it doesn't get any better. And I would have all these issues and my body's in constant pain. And once I was able to dive into that research on that of like how we directly impact our internal environment, it's like, whoa, talk about taking ownership of your own stuff. It's like, I need to learn to work through these things, not try and find a way around them, because this will turn into disease. This is where you get your ulcers from. This is where you get your throat cancer from. This is where these things form. Yeah, there's a lot of variables, right? We're talking like you could work in a mine and be surrounded by all this stuff and of course, disregard all of like the other external factors like that. But we're talking the most common threat is ourselves. Like we're the ones destroying ourselves on the inside. Every time you shut down creation, every time it starts to formulate into some starting point of a disease inside of our body, whether it's our mind, of a belief, or if it actually is a disease that is festering and turning into something like a cancer. And there's, again, like look into the research on this stuff about how our thoughts will impact just our internal environment entirely. It will blow your mind.
Yeah.
You just go, wow, I am literally the reason for all this, or I'm the reason it got worse.
Yeah.
Right?
That's fascinating.
There's a really, I think we might have talked about it before, but there's a really interesting study on the placebo effect out of, I believe, Stanford. Don't quote me, guys. And it's so your body, when you're hungry, releases ghrelin. So they took a bunch of people and they took their blood and they tested the amount of ghrelin. And they gave them one of two shakes, okay? This one was basically Slim Fast. The way that it was branded, the way that it looked, its name, everything, low fat, no calories, whatever, right? Slim Fast. This other one was like a milkshake. Decadent, branding, name, everything. Full fat, full calories. And then they tested the ghrelin. It was the same shake. On a physiological level, on a biological level, your body didn't take into account the number of calories, protein, carbohydrates. It was what your mind thought about what you were taking in. And that power alone, I mean, they talk about the placebo effect for headaches or pain or things like that, but your body truly takes in what you believe. And the implications of that are so far-reaching about being sick or being healthy. What do we attach our identity to? And what are we telling ourselves? And when we're going through this, are we taking the moment, as you said, to pause and realize we're saying these things?
Yeah.
And now, do we want to keep saying these things, or do we want to change it? Do we want to rewrite the scripts and have the power to really be the cure for whatever it is that's ailing us? And one more thing, just about you're incredible. We can't say enough about Reconnect. It's just amazing. I think there's differences for me when you go in. The first several were pure healing. Every time I got in there, it was like, oh, this is a wound, or this is a hole or a gap, or a this or a that, or something that I haven't processed yet. It was healing. Now I go and it's growth, because it's almost like I replanted the soil. I got some sunlight. I got some water. And now I can focus on reach and impact and all of the creativity that you were talking about. There's kind of a turning point between like, oh, I need to heal these parts first. That's important, right? And there will always be things that we need to heal, storms that we go through. But then now we have power. Now we have, what is the sunlight going to do, and how much more can I grow? And I think that's another gift that you guys offer there, is that ability to you're facing the past and healing. And now, I can see the sunrise and the future and the colors and all of these beautiful things in life that you have the impact on other people.
Yeah.
You can help other people.
Yeah. I also want to point out, though, is that development's never in a straight line.
No.
And getting better. And so as we go through and just taking, my Reconnect experience, and every time that I've gone, sometimes I've been easier than others. Depending on my day, depending on the things that are weighing on me, depending on my emotional state. Taking all these things into account, I make it a point that I shouldn't expect to compare experiences and to expect, because I still have an element of fear of the water, right? Because it hurts. And so I think to myself, and I try to catch myself when I think this, it's going to get easier. Not always. No, it's not. Right? It might be a little easier this time, and then it might be to just scare the hell out of me the next time. And I'm sitting in there in the compression going, okay, God. I'm like psyching myself out. I hope I'm not portraying that it's like some awful experience.
It's okay if you are, though. It is okay.
All right. Yeah. It's a little tricky. No, it is just, it's the pain I choose, right? So not in a straight line. I can't compare one experience to the next. What I really has worked for me is that I remain open to my mental state beforehand. When I'm in compression, is just kind of doing an inventory about how am I feeling, and then what is my level of anxiety about the water, if there is any, which there is, but what 1 to 10. Being a detective about my own thoughts really helps me establish better patterns for myself. Because, right, when we talk about emotions, we talk about our emotions are a product of they're predictions based on patterns that we have set, based on, biological sensory data that's come up from our past. That's a whole other podcast episode. But being a detective and objectively looking and doing an inventory about how I'm feeling in the moment gives me the ability to create better patterns for myself. I'm feeling a certain way, but now I know why. I can identify the pattern. And so the other thing that I think is kind of worth exploring, because you've taken us kind of on this really interesting journey of development for yourself. How did you intercept those negative thoughts and the beliefs, and what was your method from really strong history about a negative association with your body to this incredible guy sitting here who is wise and well-grounded and balanced and has incredible experience and authority to share on the subject? What was that?
Witnessing it all. Just sitting with it. Sometimes it's the hardest thing to do is just be. And I started to train that. I started to train myself on just not doing, but just being. Because there's always a list. There's always things to do.
Always.
And us to stop and actually be, not stop and distract, but to just witness. And every time I started to do that, I started to gain a little more. Started to understand a little more. Started to feel a little more. Because when there's this quote, it's by Dan Brule. He says, some things aren't meant to be understood, they're just meant to be felt. And I think the only way we can actually have that point of view is if we just sit in it and witness it. Because we tend to try and find a reason for everything. Yeah. And when I was giving myself this time, and it could just be 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be like this, becoming a monk sitting on the mountain for 6 hours. I mean, that's some serious dedication. And if you can do that, wow, you know. But for me, I wanted to take some of those teachings, though, of returning to nature in some fashion. So for me, I'll just go sit outside and I'll be right in the sun and I'll just have a conversation with myself. It doesn't have to be with God at this point. I'm just trying to give time for myself. So I will literally sit and just breathe, connect to where I'm at. How you feeling? And I'll just wait. Yeah. And then whatever is there, if there is, it's for example, I'm experiencing a lot of ups and downs of stress because I'm just building a lot with my businesses, and I have to just sit and witness it for what it is, because I know, just like it says biblically, this too shall pass. Yeah. The more that we can do that, we allow ourselves to take back control of our mind. So whatever that thought is, whatever that limiting belief, whatever that fear is, that anxiety, it doesn't matter what it is, it just has a moment in time. Like that's where that power comes back, is acknowledging that's all it is. It's a moment in time.
Yeah.
We can just let it have its moment and then we'll move on, or let it have its moment and use it.
Yes.
Right? Because courage comes after fear.
Right.
You have to experience the fear. So if you're feeling fearful, man, embrace it, right? If you're feeling like I'm so anxious about this thing, embrace it.
Yeah.
Because we have to contract and expand. That's how it works.
Duality.
Duality, yes, exactly. So associate all emotions and all those experiences from that same type of perspective, and you'll start to change the way you view the world. In my opinion, it's actually how you find the beauty in the world.
Yeah. That reappraisal muscle.
Yeah,
Being able to like get above it. Just get that 30,000 foot view just for a second. Right? Because once you've seen it, you never unsee it.
Yeah.
It's like going and, when you're in a plane or you're landing and you just like, coming back into Phoenix, and I always can see Camelback, and I can always see, this is where I've grown up. I grew up in this area, but looking at things through a very high level, everything looks very small.
Yeah.
Right? But the magic of the tiny things is really, really powerful. And so that reappraisal muscle I think it's really integral to recognizing that's such a part of the cure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is being able to reappraise.
Daniel Kahneman has a great quote that I often use for this exact thing. And he says, nothing is ever as important as we think it is when we think it. And that just allows me to kind of get that 30,000 foot view on whatever it is that I'm experiencing. At the moment, it feels like it's too much, or it's scary, or it's things. I can sit in it, and also this too shall pass.
Yeah.
It's not going to be as bad as I think it is, because we are horrible predictors of how we're going to feel about things.
Yeah.
But it's a moment, and I love how you said to sit in it, to go through it is the absolute best, because you honor what you're feeling. You honor your body. You honor your past. We had talked about being grateful for the mechanisms that got you here, even if they're bad, right? Thank you for protecting me. I no longer need you.
Yeah.
And letting it go. And it's just a beautiful thing. And I am so grateful that you came on and talked more about you are the cause and you are the cure. And it's such an incredible tool that I hope every single one of you listening, go look up the website, find them on social media, and you will probably see our faces there, because we are there all the time. And it is one of the most influential tools that people can have in their tool belt to truly be the powerhouses that we are.
Yeah. And if I can add one more thing,
Please.
is that, the health and wellness space is a crowded spot, right? And very few people have been truly excellent and impactful in what they're doing. And I have to say that you're one of them.
Wow.
And
Thank you.
But it's meaningful to have someone who has really, really chased something, who's walked that road, and now is creating the impact for other people in a repeatable way. And so that's what Reconnect is. And I know that you're expanding your reach and you're doing that, but I just am very grateful for you for being that person in a crowded arena to take a different approach and to really be willing to stand up and stand out. So again, thank you.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you guys for being on. Thank you for having this conversation, and thanks for joining in. We hope to see you on the next episode of We Are the Storm. Thank you for joining. We hope today's episode has ignited a pivotal spark in you and uncovered a fresh perspective that reminds you hold the power to transform every storm into your strength. Share this journey with your tribe and re-listen to uncover hidden gems. Until next time, keep building your resilience, and when you face the storm, don't just weather it, become it.